on the 15th of June, I was actually invited by the Young Professionals Association to speak to the youth. We actually had a very good audience of 240 young professionals in South Africa, a combination of people at university and people who are already working in their first 3 years of work. And one of the biggest debates that I triggered with them was the fact that in 1976, when the youth was fighting, they were very explicit. They were fighting for no Africans, and they were fighting for no Bantu education. So by winning that revolution, it was very clear that we'll continue speaking, learning in English, and Bantu education was phasing out. In 1994, when we got our democracy, there was a different fight, because now we're fighting for inclusion. So there was a deliberate strategy by the country to actually transform the corporate as well as business through entrepreneurs, and therefore that skill had to be built, and most of it was built completely outside of the country, back into the country. So if you look at the SOEs, their biggest mandate was actually to make sure that they are universities, and therefore they get people to understand the skills that were outside of our education that we could come back and implement in the country and actually run the country, if you like. Now, in 2015 to 2017, there was a different debate altogether by the youth. Now the youth began to fight for free education through fees must fall. And I think the biggest consideration that we need to think about with the youth is the type of education that we're fighting for. Now we've got the free education, and we've got a lot of unemployed graduates. We've got about 1.1 million unemployed graduates in this country. So we should be thinking if there's no mismatch between what we're studying at tertiary. The fact that we are getting it free is not necessarily the limit. The fourth industrial revolution is here, and the reality with it is that we are now talking about the digital world. We already have these virtual plants, which means the type of maintenance you'll be doing as a mechanical engineer is going to be different, because now you're doing it virtually. And therefore, are we training our engineers to fit into this economy that is actually rising? The second one is the fact that we now have robots in South Africa already that are actually doing all the transactions. I mean, if you look at supply chain departments in industry, already the robots have taken over, and you see improvement of 78% in terms of the transactions, because the robots don't eat, they don't go to the bathroom, they don't waste time. They are already forever sitting. And yet, this is again another mismatch with the fact that our president, through the State of the Nation address, was beginning to say that we want to create 1 million jobs. So if we're going to create 1 million jobs in the next 3 years, what jobs are we going to create? Are the skill set that we're developing fitting into that debate? And is that debate happening in the country, and at what level? So what we will be doing in the next couple of weeks, we'll actually get into a proper debate, trying to understand what we can do differently and how industry influences syllabi to actually get the students to have the match between what we study and what we're fighting for, and what is going to create jobs for the country.